Justin, how good was that route at Jace last night in that big third down conversion?
It was awesome to see him get back going again. Just him running the route the way he should have, and Jordan connecting with him and standing in there and delivering a great ball. But it was good to see him in the open field with the explosive pass for sure. Yep.
What have you seen from him in camp as a whole?
That one play doesn't really describe the player. It's more consistently what you're putting in and day out. With his consistency, it's kind of it's been sporadic. Whether it's still getting used to the playbook or feeling, around the line of scrimmage. But, he's still having some up and down days with the extra reps that he's getting. He's got to handle it a little bit better in a sense of more video and doing the extra things outside. But that's all fixable, and those things can come along. And this is a huge preseason for him with these 3 games, and just being the guy and getting as much reps as possible in these live settings. But he can grow from some lessons that he's learned last night and then moving forward here.
So last summer, into the early part of the season, it seemed like you guys had a lot of plans for Josiah, use him in a lot of different ways. Obviously, you didn't get to very many of that. Do you still have all that stuff? And is it kind of like, obviously you never want a guy to get hurt, but you have this now in your back pocket, stuff that you never really showed. Is that still applicable now to the season?
Yeah, we have a saying that the only thing that limits you is your imagination. So that the tools that you get with these guys like Josiah, it broadens the playbook, and you want to utilize those players that could help your offense look the same, feel the same in the run and the pass, and he brings that dimension. So more things we can do with him and get him in the mix, but he's done a great job so far of coming back strong and mentally and physically. So he's in a good spot, and as he gets going more, then this offense will start to open up a little bit more too.
Justin, you mentioned Jace in the playbook a minute ago. This is year 3. How's that even possible?
It's just the confidence in it. You know what I mean? Like it's sitting in a room and understanding what to do, but then going out and getting it performed. And in those settings, you just got to get used to it and just be in a position where you're going to get most of the reps now. And he leads the tight end room right now for most reps this camp so far. And it's just getting him acclimated and get back on track, because he's been hit with that injury bug, and just getting in a groove and finding just his spot and feeling more confident with his body. And I know he's put on some weight, and that's going to help him in the inline world. But he's going to consistently check in to work and do the things that he can. But just getting him out there more will help him tremendously. And you can sit in here and draw it up all you want, but you got to physically be able to do it. And putting him in those situations should build his confidence up.
What do you think you have in Isaac? I'm not saying him not playing at the end and Jace playing at the end is, any reading into the depth chart, but what do you think you have in him?
Isaac's been doing a really good job. OTA's got a strong OTA. We've been utilizing him a little bit more in line, and he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox as far as just be able to do the inline stuff, the off the ball stuff, be a third down guy that we can lean on. He's a mentally tough kid. He's smart. He asks the right questions. And he's got some stuff in his neck as far as when it comes out to it. Game day, he's a guy you can lean on, and he'll have that leadership in the huddle for those younger guys. But he's been a great asset for that room.
Joe, I know, I'm a sucker for a good story, and Daphne was bouncing not that long ago, and now in what ways have you seen him take kind of leaps forward? I know he had, kind of started out on NFL or whatever, but what kind of progress have you seen from him?
He's taken, not only the mental side of it, but his physical attributes. Like, he's done a really good job becoming more flexible, and using him in the backfield last year, and then being able to do that a little bit more, and seeing him move back there and getting a feel for it. That was a new spot for him. He carried the ball in college, but when you're a lead blocker, in some cases, like, you got to read it out like a back. But just the overall mindset of just seeing the whole big picture. He's starting to do that a lot more, ask more questions. And a guy like him and Josiah, where you have to know, the running back rules, the tight end rules, the receiver rules, he's really done a really good job of, and he's putting himself in a good spot too, because if you're answering the questions correctly and you're consistent on the field, like he was in OTAs, and he's just helping his cause. But I'm really excited about what he can do this year.
Hey, Justin, following up on that too, I mean, last year was supposed to be DeGuara, you had Lovett as sort of the backup, but what did Don show you by coming in, as late as he did and still being able to pick up all that stuff and contribute as he did that second half of the season?
He really, the first day he stepped in the room, I told him straight up, like, you got to prepare like a starter, because you never know. You're the COVID and just you could get hit with an injury bug, but just prepare like a starter, and he really did. He ran with the playbook, met with Coach Koger last year during Tuesdays when we were up there game planning, and just really ran with it. And if he was all in. Like, there's guys that, and I told him that you're not coming in here just to read a card and help out on scout team. You're here to play football. So you don't want to be, wasting a chair when you could help this team. So he's done a really good job as far as just taking and run with it, being physical when he had the opportunities in scout team, really set it off. That's where people started to get eyes on him and saying, who's this kid right here? But you could see the progression that was happening in the film room and the team room. So his confidence started to build up throughout the season. And then once the physical part came out in practice, he was turning some heads, and he did it the right way. He kept his nose down, kept his mouth shut, and just kept working and just earning his respect the right way.
We've seen, obviously, Mercedes take some veteran rest days and whatnot, but from what you've seen of his attitude, approach, I mean, in year 16, does the monotony of this ever get to him, or from what you've seen, how does he avoid it getting to him after all these years?
He loves being here. He loves being around the game. When you love something, it's easy just to forget you're in year 16. And he's growing just like these other guys. He's getting more involved. He's hitting his marks in the run game way quicker than he did in the last couple of years. And it's just to see him pick up where he left off against Tampa Bay last year was really exciting to see. But he's never going to be bored of being a great leader. He's never going to be bored of being a great football player. Our connection in our room has been awesome, but there's typically not a lot of boring, lowly days with him. Like, he's all in and trying to learn and trying to bring guys along. So he's really invested in us.
Anything else in the room before we go to Zoom?
Gerald, I don't think it was that long. I was the year before you guys got here, but Robert was in a position where somebody tricked him into thinking he'd been cut at the end of training camp. And now he's so important that you're not playing him in the preseason game. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. When you have a chance to look at his development in the 2 years plus that you've been around him, what stands out about how he's gotten to this point and what he's got in front of him?
What he does outside the building has really jumped off. Like, you can progress here, but you have to be able to do it outside this room and this building. And he's really taking care of his body, mental aspect of it, of the gymnastics of the playbook and being utilized a little bit more. The spotlight, is going to be a lot brighter now with, the success that he had last year. But, he's a guy that's going to continue to get better. He's not reached his ceiling yet, in my opinion. He's done all the right things off the field, and I think that's a really strong foundation for being a really good football player, is doing the little things off the field and taking it seriously. And this is your job, and you're gonna help this team win a Super Bowl because of what you do off the field.
So is that something that a guy has to have, or do you have to goose them a little bit to make them do that? Is that, you either have it or you don't?
That is a true statement. Sometimes it takes one thing to happen in practice where I have to get in the weight room a little bit more, or it might be an embarrassing moment in a film room where you're like, I don't know the answer, I have to get in my playbook a little bit more. Or it's just somebody close to him getting in his ear, or consistently just thinking about how can I better myself. But you can talk to your blue in the face about doing the right things and being physical, but you're going to have to want to do that. You know what I mean? It's something that we all struggle with on a daily basis, especially with diets. You know what I mean? Like you want to be way better in a bathing suit, but sometimes you got to put a little bit more effort in than what you're doing, and then stop blaming other people. So,
Sarah, let's do the one on Zoom.
Yeah, just one in here, Olivia Reiner.
Hey Justin, on one hand you've got Josiah who's nearing his return as we approach regular season, and then you also have Dominique who's shown that he can be a contributor for you in this offense. How likely is it that they can both coexist on the roster and find opportunity to make an impact individually?
Well, we're going to keep the best players available that are going to help us win, and as they compete against each other, it's just going to better that room in this offense. And, you know, if they're one of the two that are, you know, one of the best at their position, then we're going to find a way to get them on the field, whether it's at the same time or separately. But each of them will have a specific role that they're going to nail and really take and run with it. And we're excited about both those guys.